Hi everybody, it's Tommy Jo from Bird Street Studio, and I'm here trying to figure out how to make the cover for this journal that we've been working on. So what I did in preparation is I tried to figure out how wide I wanted our spine to be. These are very, very full signatures. So what I ended up doing was, this is a Cheez-It box, as you can see, is I kind of figured the cover, if I put the signature here, figuring the spine would be here, I would have a little bit of space to allow for any kind of lace or tabs or anything. And it would also give me about 1/4 of an inch top and bottom, which is just about perfect. So this ended up being, this piece ended up being in inches. It is about 6.5 by 9, I believe. Yes, by 9. So I have 2 of those, a front and a back. And then the spine, I want this journal to kind of sit straight, which means there's going to be some area in between the signatures. So I kind of wanted them to sit flat. So I'm going to put if this connects it, I want the first signature to go at about 1/2 inch. Yes. And then if the first one goes at about 1/2 inch, and the next one goes at 3/4 of an inch, like here, right? So it'd be 1, 2, 3/4. The next one would go at 3/4. It'd be 1, 2, 3/4, and then another 1/2. That's small. Because see, they're going to get squished, so they actually have to be a little further apart. Thinking they're going to have to be about 1 inch apart. Okay, so with that in mind, we want 1/2 inch is where it will start. So if we have 1.5 inch, right? And then we want the second one 1 inch further, and the third one 1 inch further, and then 1/2 inch. So we need a 3-inch spine. Okay, so we've got our spine size. Perfect. So the next thing I do is I use, and I only use this because I had it on hand, self-adhesive linen hinging tape. It's actually for hinging window mats to mounting mats. When I used to mat my mixed media pictures and that, this is what I used, and I had a roll of it. It is 1.25 inches wide. So what I've done is I've cut 2 9-inch pieces, because that's what's going to hook our spines and our covers. Oh, and I picked this material for a cover just because it has the circles, and we were trying to kind of keep the circle motif going. And I thought, oh my gosh, that would be so cool to use the circle fabric. So that's why I picked this piece, and I think I have enough, hopefully. So basically what I do here is I line, I'm going to move it up a little. Hopefully you can see this. I just put this on a straight edge, and then I want something in between. So you can, I've got a skewer here, and I'll lay that down, and I will then lay that against the skewer. And that's about how far apart I want my cover to go. So then I want to take my tape and I want to, oh, duh. Okay, got my tape and I want to lay it right on there. And it doesn't have to be exactly at the top or exactly at the bottom. You just want to make sure that you allow that gap. And then I'm going to take my skewer and I'm going to put it right here. It's kind of a bent skewer. And I'm going to line my cover up against the bottom. It's about 1/8 of an inch actually that I'm leaving. We want our other piece of tape. Get rid of the backing this time. And we're going to lay that. Whoops, I moved this. I think I can eyeball this though. I know I want it to be about 1/8. Okay, I think that's about right. Okay, so there we go. Then what I do from here is I want to put my journal in here, my signatures, and see how they lay. And I think that's going to be pretty close. It could be a little small. Well, no, because when these are sitting up like this, apart, I think they'll be just about right. So I'm going to put these aside. And we're ready to actually make a template for here. And I have all of my, every template I've ever made. I need something that's about 9 inches tall. Oh, that's perfect. And it, I think that I can I'm thinking, let me see where this falls. If this is 1/2 inch, be 1, 2, 3, just about there. It looks like I'm going to have to make one. Okay, so what I ended up doing was I took one of my glue pages and I cut it to 9 by 3, so it fits perfect right here. I cut it to, it's folded in half. There's actually 2 pieces. It's 1 piece, but I folded it in half, and then I glued this side. I made sure it's 9 by 3. So this is the piece that we're going to use for our template. And I will draw on here after the fact, okay? But I wanted to hold this aside so we had it. And the next step is going to be for us to cover this with fabric. And so you have to make a decision at this point whether we want to put pockets in here, have a paper inside with fabric on the outside. Do we want fabric on both sides? And I have this fabric for the outside. And I think it will fit perfect, but I don't know what I want for the inside. So I'm going to check and see. I have all kinds of pieces of fabrics. I'm looking behind me in a drawer. Kind of liking this. Isn't that kind of weird? But I thought, it's not circles though, but I just thought it would be kind of cool on there on the inside. I mean, it matches all the signatures. Okay, let's look further, see what we have. A lot of pieces. I was just looking at that because it's got kind of dots on it. So it would be kind of circles. That looks like little dandelions, doesn't it? Okay, let me see what else I have. Well, I have this brown and gold. That might match kind of nice, and it would look okay with that as well. Bee journal, Christmas. Oh, this one has circles. And it's got gold. And it kind of looks good with that, but I don't know about red. Let's see if I have something other black that I like. I have solid black. I can't decide. Just because I like that, but I'm kind of liking this green. I don't know what it is about it. Okay, I need to imagine what this would look like, because that's what I need to do. If I use the green, so if this is my back, or my outside, and this were my inside, if that were my outside and this were my inside, how would I feel about that journal? Oh, I kind of really like it. I don't know what it is about this. I don't know what it is about this green that I'm really digging. So guess what, people? I think that's what we're going to do. Okay, decision made. Now what I need to do is see if you can see this cover through this material. Some of these materials are so thin that you can actually see the cover, and I think this one is perfect. Perfect. So what I want to do is I want to cut this fabric here to the size of my box. I'm looking at the lines. This is my thought process. My thought process is I will cut this piece to the exact size of my cover. This piece then would wrap around it. Okay, so this piece will wrap around and then this piece will just lay inside and glue it. That's my thought. So I'm thinking that if I want any kind of rough edge, that I need to leave a little space all the way around, but I don't need to leave that much. I think like 1.5 maybe, about there. Okay, so and when you rip this, you have no idea if this has been ripped on the grain, against the grain. You have no idea. So I'm just going to pick a mark, which is right about this line right here. I'm going to rip it and let's hope. Ooh, that was pretty good. Okay. And then I need about this much hanging on this side. Okay. So this will be our piece for the inside. And we can wrap this back up. I always struggle with covers, probably because they're not my favorite. I love making decisions about colors, kind of, but they're not my favorite thing to do. It makes me nervous when I get to this point. So that will fit perfect on there. And if we need to trim it a little bit and let it rough, that's perfect. So now we need to cut our outside piece. And I'm thinking that that may or may not be enough. Let's see. It's kind of tight. I think we better do it this way. Leave ourselves a little bit of extra space. So I'm going to cut that right about there. Yeah, so you can see the box. If I press hard, you can see the box. So this will be our inside. This will be our outside right here. So if that's the case, then we want to lay our material down, our fabric down, and we want to glue it onto this box. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to put Fabri-Tac on here. I, I need to spread it out so that it's not going to seep through our fabric. Now I could put something else in there. I don't think I have. Let me just look real quick. How about this? Some bubble wrap. So basically, I could just glue this. I glue it this way, I think. Yes. Okay, I think that'll work. So if I want to tape those together, okay, so I need to glue this onto here. So we're going to use our Fabri-Tac just because it's right here. Okay, I'm just going to turn this over and I want to glue it down onto here. Okay, so we've got that on. I want to just trim this side, I guess, a little bit here. And that's going to give us a little bit of padding in our cover. Then if we want to lay our padding side down, make sure that, oh yeah, that's how I want it to feel. So now we want to put more glue on this side. I apologize. I'm going to try and edit out all my throat clearing. They were out working on the pool and they were chiseling cement and there's dust all in the air. And I didn't go out, but it does get in your house anyways. And I think that's why I keep clearing my throat. So I'll try to edit it out as much as I can. And I apologize. So now I'm putting some Fabri-Tac on here. I don't need to put a whole lot, but I do want to make sure that it's not going to seep through my fabric. So I'm going to take a brush and just flatten the lines of glue a little bit. Actually, my silicone brush. I'm not going to use a regular brush. Let me find them. I have these, and I will just, and that will hold the fabric in place until I can glue the other side. So all I'm going to do is flatten these lines of glue, and that way it won't seep through my fabric. Perfect. I think I got them all. So then I just want to turn this over and kind of center it in my fabric. Whoops, I don't want it up that high. Perfect. And then we want to trim our corners. So that we can sort of miter them. Let me find my fabric scissors. I saw somebody had this apparatus that they set on their corner, and then it left a little bit of room and showed you right where to cut to make mitered corners. It was the coolest thing, and I can't remember where I saw it. A lot of times I watch videos at nighttime on my TV, and then I fall asleep, and then I can't remember. I go through my history. I try to figure out what played. I was telling somebody the other day, it's like videos. I look at my history and there's videos on there it says that I watched. I have no idea. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to pull the bottom up and I want to glue that first. So and you want to do opposite sides when you're doing this part because you're kind of tugging at the material and pulling it taut. You don't want to pull it so tight that the cardboard bows, but you want it nice and taut. Now I just want to turn it over and make sure it's nice and taut, and it is, and oh, it feels so nice. It's a little tiny bit padded, but not too much. I love it. Okay, so now I just want to go along this edge and put this down a little bit better. Okay, and we want to do our corners or our ends. When you do these ends, you want to kind of tuck this in just a little bit and then pull it up. And I will put book corners on there, but so what I do is I kind of pull this in and hold it for a minute. I'm going to do the same to this side. It does take a minute for fabric tack to grab and glue. And then when I bring this up, I want to hold this little corner in a little bit, and then you want to bring this up so you have a nice finished edge. And go about to the halfway mark, and you want to make sure that you do the same here. Hold that in and bring it up. Perfect. That way we have nice finished corners, and I will put book corners on there as well. Then we need to do the same to this side. What I'm wondering is if I want to put book corners on, if I'm going to leave, I might not want to leave this ragged on the edge because then I couldn't put book corners on. I'm gonna have to think about this for a second. Because if you let it hang off, this is what I'm thinking. If I let this hang off, this material isn't printed on the back side. So if you see it, it's lighter green on this side. I'm not sure that I mean, I like it, but I'm not sure I love it. Oh, it is kind of pretty though. I think I really like it. So I think I'm not going to do book corners. I am just going to glue that baby down. So I want to put glue all on the inside of this. And I will use my silicone brush again to flatten these lines. But we want a lot of glue on here. We definitely don't want it to seep through our material, however. And I use Fabri-Tac, and it's very smelly, which I love. I don't need any bad comments about that, but I do love it. You could use bookbinders glue if you want, PVA glue or whatever works for you. Just going to go around the edges again. I will pull that glue in a little bit from the edge, but I want to make sure that I get it all the way to the edge. Okay. Well, I will just pull it in. Okay, and then we want to lay our fabric out like this. And I'm going to turn this upside down and lay it like this. Okay, I think that looks good. All I want to do is trim some of this off. I want to leave enough to ravel. So I'm thinking I leave about, I'm looking at the squares and I'm thinking if I leave 1.5 squares-ish along the edge here, that would be perfect for raveling. I might want a little less, I'm not sure, maybe 1. Okay, so I am going to stop the video and I'm going to ravel the edges of this and see what I think, and then I will come back and we'll see where we're at. All right, so I'm back. Having done, I did a lot more to this than I said I was going to do. I was going to just ravel the inside and I did that and I love it. I also though decided to go ahead and stitch around it. So I did stitch all the way around and that should keep it from raveling too much. And then I went ahead and made a topper for it. So I thought I'd show you that and then we'll wrap this up as a video. And so what I ended up doing was I had some of this like sari fabric, and what I let's back up a little bit. I wanted to put a girl on the front, an eclectic lady on the front. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to do. So I printed them all. And how I did this, and I think I've told you this before, I have a Windows operating system. It's a PC. And if I don't know how, if it works on a Mac, how that would work, but this works for me. What I do is I don't open the files. I just go to where the files are listed in my file explorer and I select however many. In this case, I selected 4. They're not open. They're just listed with the names .jpeg. And I selected 4 of them. I right click and it gives me an option to print. I hit print, and then a dialog box comes up and you have some options. And one of the options is to print 4 on a page that are 3.5 by 5, I think, something like that. And so that's what I did. So I did it page 1, and then I did another 4 and did another page, did another 4 till I had them all printed. And I was shy a couple. Okay. So I just took some of their dresses and I made these little backgrounds on it so that I could print 4 up and I didn't waste the paper. Then I didn't want to use the girls like these that are on our cover. Like, let me see. So this girl is on this cover. This girl is on this cover right here. And this girl is on this cover right here. And I didn't want to use those. And I didn't necessarily want to double up some of the girl pictures that I used inside the signatures. So what I did was I picked 4 and I cut them out. Let me move all this stuff out of the way. I'm making a big mess here. So I selected 4 of them and I cut them out and I trimmed them in gold. So these are 3 of the ones that I selected. And then the 4th one was this one. And I opted to use her. And what I did is I used a piece of black cardstock and then I glued onto it this background, which is what I wanted to show you. On a different video, I showed you how I could print on tissue paper. And this is one of the pieces that I printed on. So I picked an area that had some red in it and I cut it out and glued it onto the black cardstock. Then I put my picture on top of that. Okay. And then I made these little strips with white swirlies that I used my white gel pen. And then I went through and on different places on this, I put white with this white gel pen. I put white here. I highlighted these. I highlighted some of these. I put little swirlies and circles in those. I did her eyes, just something to kind of bring the white out a little bit. And once I did that, I thought, I love that red. So I went and found my sari fabric and I had this piece and I thought how pretty that would be right here with this on top. So then the journal cover will look like this and I love it. Haven't decided if I'm even going to bother covering up the strings here or not, but I think I'm in love with this journal already. But I went ahead and glued this down. I didn't want to put the topper down until I got the signatures in it. So I want to kind of show you how I'm going to mark them, and I'm going to sew them off camera just because it doesn't make sense for me to go over in this video trying to sew them in. And I can't see doing another video just to sew them in. So I'm going to measure it and show you how I measure it and what I do, but then I will sew them in off camera. And then when I come back, they should be all sewn in. I will put the topper on here. Hopefully I'll figure out how I want to close it. And that's going to make a difference of how the signatures sit in here. So I won't know that until I get them sewn in. But anyways, let's move forward real quick. If you remember back in the beginning of the video, I cut this piece to fit here for our template. Now what I wanted to do was see where this falls. So you know that your cover is larger than your signatures. Hello. And so I want to see and mark the top and the bottom of this and center this signature. So I'm just going to put a line kind of right here, like a little scribble line. And that shows me the top and the bottom. And I'm going to actually write top here. It's in pencil, so I can see it. I don't know that you can. I'll hold it up. I wrote it right here, T-O-P. I could actually take this and use a marker maybe or a pen and do it, T-O-P here, T-O-P. There. Now you can see it. And so when I make my holes, I want to keep in mind that that's the top. And I need to mark on here where the top of the journal goes. Okay, so here's going to be the top of the journal, somewhere right along here. And then the bottom of the journal is going to be right around here. The bottom of the signatures, I'm sorry. Okay, because we have an odd amount of signatures, we have 3, the easiest thing to do is to take this and fold it in half. Okay, that's where my center signature will go. Okay, then you take this and fold it in half. And this tells me where this signature will go, where this signature will go. And then I fold this one in half. And that tells me where that signature will go. Make sure I have it right. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to move this so that I can use my pen and not write on the cover. And I'm going to make those lines so that you can see them. I hope. So that I can see them. So our center. We need to mark it right there and right there. Okay. And that will, then I'm going to draw a light line. Okay. And then this one, I'm going to mark this and mark this. I'm going to do the same on this side, mark this. This is hard to see because there's writing at the top of this, but it'll work. Okay. And then draw a line right there and draw our other line right here. And this works because my journals are usually 3 signatures. I've done more and I've done less, but mostly they're 3 signature, 3 or 4. And for a 3 signature, you just divide it in half and then divide each half in half. It's that simple. Now you have to decide if you're going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch or 5-hole, 4-hole, whatever you're going to do. I normally do a 3-hole. So to do that, you would just fold this in half. Okay. And make your, whoops, I better do it this way so I can see it. Draw your line. Okay. And then you can fold this in half if you'd like. I tend not to do that. I tend to go about a half an inch above or an inch above, like this. I like an inch because that gives me a hole closer to the bottom, holes closer to the bottom. So I'm looking here, and if I've got this here, I've got an inch and a half. Let's do an inch and a half would put our hole. I'm measuring right here. Like this. Okay. So there's our inch and a half. And you can do that whatever length you want at all. Okay. And if I do this one here, an inch and a half. It'll be right here. Now the only thing you have to do is check your signatures and make sure that every page will fall within these two, okay, or at least these two. And I know that I have half pages in here. I have a half page right here. But if I put this at the top and this at the bottom, okay, and this is in the center, it's not going to hit both. So I'm going to have to take this and move it up or down. And I'm going to opt to move it a little bit up. And the reason I did that was almost everything you put in a signature tends to be on the bottom pockets, tucks in the bottom, corner tucks in the bottom, which means that the bottom of your journal gets kind of bottom heavy. So if you have the opportunity to put some things up at the top, that's a good thing to do. So if I put this at the bottom and this at the top, then this page is going to get caught here and here, which is perfect. Anywhere in there would be fine. As long as it gets caught twice, it's good. I don't think I have too many other. I have a couple other ones, but this one in particular, if I center this, and center this one, then if you look, they'll fall within here, same as this. This one, if I want this at the bottom, which I do because it's got something in here that pulls out, then it's going to get caught here and here, which is fine. That's great. I could move it up to the center if I want, up here, and it would get caught both. But you make that decision when you put them together. When I go to sew this in, I will make that decision where I want these pages to be. Anyways, so now I put my template in here. Okay. So now you know that where these lines intersect, that's where you're going to poke your holes. Right there. So you're going to do that on your cover. Okay, so we're going to do it on the inside. We're going to mark our holes. Actually, I'm going to just poke the holes. See if I've got my awl here. So I've got my awl. I've got my top. This is the top of my journal. So I want to center this in here. Okay. And then I want to poke holes. And I have a block. It's just a block of like cardstock that I tape together. And I use that under it. Okay. I center this and this. Okay. Perfect. And then I'm just going to hold it and I'm going to actually poke my holes. Okay. You can't see them here, but I can feel the holes back here. I can see them here as well. I'm going to hold this up in just a second. I'll make these as big as I can for you to see. Okay, I don't want to Oh yeah, this is like way too busy for you to see, but there are 3 holes here, 3 holes here, and 3 holes here. Anyways, that's how I mark my holes in my cover. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how I mark the holes in a signature, and then we're going to call this a video because this will get too long. I've got a book cradle, and I got this. Quite a few people buy these. They're from Crafty Cat, USA. She has them on her Etsy shop. I think they run about $30, and they make them on a 3D printer. So cool. So I want to do my back signature, so I have to make a decision now what direction I want them. And I think I want this as my signature, my first signature. This is my middle signature just because it's kind of got brown, which is a little different. And then this one would be my third. So this is my back signature, and I usually work from the back forward when I'm doing my signatures. So let's do this one first. So I'm going to stand up and turn this around so I can look down into here. And here's my first page, okay? And then I have this half page right here. And remember, we decided that we have to move it up or down. I've got all my ephemera in here. A lot of times people take them out. I think I'll take these back ones out. We have to move it up or down in order to catch it. So I'm going to move it up, okay? Then we've got this page. It's a full-size page, so I'm just going to lay that in there so that the top and bottom are even. This one is long. These two are long enough, remember, for me to catch both ends as long as they're centered. So I'm going to center these. I think that's about centered. And then we have this page, which I'm just making sure that this is in line top and bottom with the other pages. This one we want centered, and it is. This one has to come down just a hair. And then our center page, it's going to go like that. Okay, so I have the pages the way I want them. And what I'm going to do is push way down in here. Okay, I'm going to have to take these pieces out. Most people take all their ephemera out, but I don't always do that. Then you want to take your template. And because I drew all my lines over to the edge, I just want to make sure that the top is at the top of my signature, the bottom is at the bottom. So I'm going to take this and lay it in here. And I don't know if you can see this, but this line that has the top, I'm going to line up with the top of the page. Okay. And then the bottom, whoops, the bottom is just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to just center that a little bit. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to take my awl, and the line in the middle that goes all the way down, I'm going to go ahead and poke my hole in there. Then I'm going to come up and do the same thing. There's the line that has the top holes, and I'm going to poke a hole right in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom without moving my template. So okay. So I've got my holes poked. Now I need to hold these in place. So in my bookbinding stuff, I've got these big clips. And I'm going to put a clip here. And I'm going to put a clip down here, knowing that I've got these pushed all the way down in here. I've got 2 more clips. And I'm going to put one up here. And I'm going to put, what did I do with my other one? Oh, I left it in there. And I'm going to put that one down at the bottom. Like that. So that should hold that all together and tight in here. So they're all right tight right there. And I've got my holes already in here. This is when you take your cover and you're going to line your holes up right there. So I'm going to go ahead and get a piece of thread, and I'm thinking I want to use kind of this off. I like that color. I only have 2 colors of wax thread, and that's like a little pinky color to me. I like this one. And then I do have needles. I do not have bookbinding needles. I just have these. They're like embroidery needles. I had embroidery needles, so that's what I use. And it works out fine as long as you don't poke yourself because they're sharp. And then what you normally do is you're going to measure 3 times the length of your journal height. I do about 2 3/4 to save a little bit of string. So there's 1, 2, and about 3/4, 2.5, 2 3/4, something like that. And I'm going to make 3 of these because I have 3 signatures. So while I'm got it out, let's go ahead and cut our third one. Not our third one, our 3. And 1 more. If you want to hang beads or something off the ends, you could make these a little longer. But you'll but when I get done, I usually tie a bow or something, and I still end up cutting the threads at 2 3/4. So I don't see any need to go to 3. Okay, let's move all this aside. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 2 strings up here. I'm going to take 1 string and I'm going to thread it, and I will get you started, and then I will do the rest off camera. Okay, so when you start this, I always start in the back. I do the last signature and I start in the center. So I find my center hole right here, and I find my center hole in my journal. Remember, we want to make sure we're top and top. Yes. And I've got that padding, so it's a little bit hard to pull through, but that's okay. But it's not that difficult. You want to leave a bit of a tail right here. You need to find your top hole, which I have to feel because this, there we go. It's right there. Got to go through that like bubble wrap, remember? And then we want to find our top hole in our journal, which is right here. That's why it's really hard for me to do this on camera. I just dropped it. Here it is. Find your hole. Okay. Find the hole in your journal. Right there. It should go right in. Ouch. There we go. Okay. Pull it up. Sometimes I have to use my plier like things, whatever you call those. Then you're going to skip the center hole, go all the way down to the bottom, poke your needle through your hole, and find your bottom hole on your journal and poke it right through. Find which one of these is the tail. This one is. And then we want to go right back up through the center again without piercing the thread that's already in there. So we want to come through here. Okay, there. And we don't want to pierce our thread, so I'm trying to be careful to be on one side of it or the other. And the reason you don't want to pierce the thread is when you pull this and you go to pull it tight. Let me show you something. I use these sometimes if I have trouble because I don't want to poke myself. So I will just use these to pull it up through. Anyways, when you go to tighten your thread, if you've pierced it, it makes it hard to tighten. So you want to take this one and make it on the opposite side. So you'll have a thread on one side, a thread on the other. You can take your needle out. This is where if you pull this tight, you couldn't do that very well if you pierced your thread. In this case, it's nice and tight here. I can go ahead and tie my knot. I usually do 2 knots, like a square knot type thing. Then you can tie a bow right in the center. And like I said, I end up cutting part of that off. So that's one signature. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest and put the topper on off camera. If I decide, if I decide to do anything else that I think you should see, I will come back and do that. Otherwise, we'll just do a flip through after that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this gave you a good idea of like what I did off camera and how to put this together. And thank you to my subscribers, past, present, and future. I really appreciate you. Please give us a like if you could. I'd appreciate that. Subscribe if you want to follow along on our journey. You don't have to watch all the videos, but watch what you enjoy. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.